Hello everyone, welcome to Behind the Stumps with Anuj. So, in another episode of Expert Corner, today we have a very huge guest, we would say, right all the way from New Zealand, Devon Conway's coach, and who also works with the Wellington Firebirds, Mr. Glenn Pocknall. Hi Glenn, how are you?
Good, thank you. And yeah, great to be on your show and provide some insights into the Indian audience. So I'm looking forward to the chat.
Yeah. So, firstly, how satisfying it is, for a coach to see to see your student go all the way to the mecca of cricket, you could say, and score a double hundred.
Oh, look, it's unbelievable, really, to think what he achieved just the other day, really. We all, I guess, here in Wellington knew he was capable of it and knew that he certainly had shown the skill here for us over a 3.5 year period. But then to go and do it on the world stage at the home of cricket against two of the world's best bowlers, it's unbelievably, I guess, satisfying for the whole of Cricket Wellington and for all the people that have backed him, I guess, not only here but throughout his whole career. So, yeah, an amazing moment, really.
Yeah. So, speaking about Devon, the way he has to, come all the way from South Africa, as an outsider to first settle into the New Zealand system and then, patiently wait for his chances. Sometimes New Zealand cricket doesn't get the kind of recognition that they have to because the kind of depth that they have, both in batting as well as in fast bowling. The way we saw that, even after 6 changes, they managed to beat England in their own den. So how frustrating it was for him, and how did you help him, remain patient?
Yeah, I guess for him it was he probably wouldn't use the word frustrated, but look, at times it would be naturally because he essentially came to New Zealand and came to Wellington as a club cricketer. So that effectively means that you're not paid. You're in a pool with all the other cricketers. And I guess the lucky thing for Wellington is that we're a very small cricketing community. So he played club cricket and he performed well, and that gets recognised pretty quickly because everybody starts talking about you. And I guess that's the beauty of us being a small nation and a small country, that people get identified pretty quickly. So he got identified from getting some significant club performances, and then he got called into a trial that we had. So that was literally on 4 years ago. So it's not very long when you put it in context that he started here as a club cricket, then 4 years later he's getting a double hundred on debut in Lords. So for him it's probably has been a little bit drawn out because he has started at the bottom of the pile, so to speak, and he's also had to face a lot of other hurdles with being away from family and not being able to go back to see his family and friends in South Africa due to COVID. So that's been a challenge in itself, and also with visa restrictions and ICC eligibility, all of those things are very hard hurdles to come across. And to his credit, he's remained very patient and still diligently worked really hard behind the scenes on his game. So it's a bit of a testament to his character, that he is so strong-willed, I guess, but also so patient. And it's very similar to the way he bats, really. He's got those same characteristics. So, look, it's just a very good story that he's being able to show some resilience through that period. And now, he's got a pretty amazing record against his name.
Yeah. So, his journey so far has been pretty much similar. If I could point out one batsman, I could say David Malan from England, right? Where he might have to perform in almost every innings. Otherwise, there would be a doubt on his place. So that is pretty much exactly what's happening with Conway. And maybe if he wouldn't have got that double hundred, we might not have been speaking about him for a starting place in the World Test Championship final. So, being in the New Zealand setup yourself, how important it was for him rather to remain consistent and hungry for all the runs. Despite he is now approaching the age of 30. So there might have been a doubt or two in his mind, right, that whether I'm really doing the right thing right now.
Yeah, that's good question. And look, I think all players would go through that element of doubt, just because the nature of the beast is cricket is you're always going to be, I guess, not performing to the standard that you want, just given the uncontrollable nature of how the game unfolds. So I think that's very natural, and that's certainly, he's gone through phases of that in his career. But I guess the beauty of him is that doubt doesn't last very long. It might last 5 minutes, might last less than that. And I guess in the context of a game, it doesn't happen whatsoever. He just goes out and bats and backs his ability. And regardless of the level, whether it's a club game or a provincial game for Wellington or for the Black Caps, he's just batting and I guess appreciating that moment of facing that ball and being able to be challenged in that moment to be able to win that ball effectively. And that's very easier said than done. I wish we could all do that, but he has that ability to be able to stay in that moment and I guess remove a lot of the self-doubt or remove a lot of the noises that can particularly jump into people's heads at times. And that's something that you can't really coach. It's I guess a bit of experience and a little bit of in your makeup as to the person who you are. So it's an incredible strength that he has to be able to do that.
Yeah. So, so now that the marquee event is just 3 days away from us, right? And you have seen the Indian pace attack, dominate the opposition. So knowing Conway's strengths and weaknesses, which bowler do you think from the Indian team can provide him the most challenging?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess probably to answer that, all of them will probably be challenging in the first instance because he's never faced them. So similar to the England attack, that's I guess that will be the challenge for him. He's never faced any of these bowlers, so being able to read their cues early and figure out, I guess, how they're trying to get him out, and then devise a plan to score runs will be his initial challenge. But look, they would have studied these England tests and gone over his technique and looked for flaws and things like that. But look, he'll be very excited and very pumped up for this challenge. It's a big game, and he's shown that he's a big game player, big match player. So they're all going to provide a bit of a threat. I guess naturally, especially if the wicket's going to be a turning wicket, then Ashwin's going to be a threat not only to Devon but for a lot of the left-handers because that's his major skill, major strength, I guess, as a right-arm off spinner. So that's the matchup I'm really looking forward to, seeing Ashwin against Conway, because I know Conway's done a huge amount of work against spin and specifically off spin. So I guess this will test that work out and test that application he's put into that area of his games. And against a world-class bowler like Ashwin, he'll be pretty pumped for that and be wanting to come out on top. So it's a great time to be able to watch that.
Yeah. So, another big batsman you could say from New Zealand who doesn't have a great record in England, and that is the one thing that we Indians are pretty happy about, Kane Williamson, no one else, someone who has the ability to bat for 2 days and, put heaps of runs on the board. So how about him? Like, the kind of patch that he's going through, a similar patch that, Virat Kohli is going through. So it might come down to a battle between the two captains, right? So because both of them are having their own issues with runs, although Kane scored runs against Pakistan at home, but again, it's in the English conditions where both of them are not having a great time. So, where would you say that, the balance of power lies at the moment?
Yeah, that's the great thing. As you say, it's very even. They're both due for runs, which is scary because if they both get in, then they could bat and really set their team up for victory. So undoubtedly, those two are the keys to both batting lineups. Yes, there's a lot of other very good players and world-class players in both teams, but Kohli and Williamson, look, they're the top of the world at the moment. So and they're due for runs. So it's a scary thought for one team. One of them's going to have a big one. But look, I think it's potentially could come down to those two who has the ability to lead from the front and I guess provide that stability in the top order to bat for a long period of time. And I guess the aim probably of both teams is to get a 500 plus score and bat the opposition out of the game. So those two will feature, I guess, heavily in that approach for their respective teams. So look, to answer your question, it's bang 50-50. I'd say they're both due for runs. Which I guess time will tell to see which one comes out on top and which one I guess puts the best foot forward for their team.
Yeah, so as far as both teams are concerned, there is a problem of plenty in the fast bowling department, right? So with New Zealand, we saw, with 6 changes, it was Matt Henry who was perhaps bowling even better than, you could say a Trent Bolt, on when he's in rhythm. And we all know what Matt Henry did to us in the World Cup semi-final. So is there a temptation to go in with, maybe 5 pacers with Jamieson as an all-rounder instead of de Grandhomme?
Yeah, it's definitely an option. The factor that they'll look at is the pitch and whether they feel that seam is going to be more a factor than spin. Like, undoubtedly, the New Zealand pace attack is our weapon. And I guess you could say from the Indian perspective that their weapon is their pace attack, but also got 2 quality spinners there. So, look, I think undoubtedly if it's a green seamer and if the Black Caps feel that the wicket's going to have pace and bounce in it through the whole 5 days and no turn, then that could be a temptation. I think there's a little bit of a risk, though, with potentially not going in with a spinner because you just don't know. Like, if it does start turning on days 3, 4 and 5, you're going to want to have someone up your sleeve that can bowl. So I guess, like, looking from afar, I can't see it happening. Definitely Henry's deserving of a spot in the team because he's played so well in the last match, and as you say, he's got a great record in white ball cricket against India, but I feel they'll probably leave him out because they'll just need that variety in terms of the spinner. And I guess looking from afar, I also believe that they see Southey and Henry as 2 very similar bowlers, and only one of them will play. They've got Southey and Henry who both bowl full and can swing it away. Southey will get the nod, I would say, and then you've got Neil Wagner who can bowl fast and can bowl the short ball plan, and you've got Trent Bolt who can bowl in big in swingers to the right handers, and then you've got Jamieson who's another point of difference where he's big, he's tall, he's fast, he's bouncy. So it's quite a balanced attack when you look at it that way. And we've got to chuck in a spinner. So I was just looking at the 15 that's just been named. AJ Patel's the only one there, so he's a very good chance of playing, which was great reward for his form the other day in the second test against England.
Yeah. So if apart from Kohli, if you are the if I put you in the spot right now, if you are the coach of the New Zealand team right now, and if there is one player from the opposition with which is giving you headache, who would that be, and your reasoning for that?
Yeah, that's pretty clear for me. It would have to be Pujara. Pujara's look, he's another world-class player, but he's shown time and time again he's got an ability to bat time, and by time I mean he can bat 1 session, 2 session, he can bat days, and if he gets in on a flat wicket, he's been shown to be very difficult to get out, and he complements a lot of the other stroke makers in the Indian batting lineup. So yeah, I just believe he's a big threat. If he gets in and the New Zealand bowlers allow him to get in and settle in, they could be in trouble. But I think they'll not, just like every batsman, they'll be doing their utmost to get them out within the first 20 to 30 balls, so they don't get that ability to put their anchor down and stay in for a whole day.
Yeah. So there is a lot of talk about how Rohit Sharma is going to open up, against the New Zealand pace attack, especially. Even in the World Cup, we saw him get 500s, but when it came to the game against New Zealand, he couldn't deliver. So that is something that has always been the case with Rohit Sharma. So do you think that will play a part on his mind? Like, will New Zealand bowlers already have their tails up from ball 1 because of Rohit Sharma's struggles against swing? Or do you think after the tour down underway, Rohit Sharma scored a couple of good 50s, in just 4 innings, that, he has pretty much sorted his game out as a test opener?
Yeah, I reckon that he'll be blocking all that stuff out, and certainly the people around him, the leadership within the Indian team, will just be giving him positive reinforcement about how good a player he is. I think all that stuff is true. He has struggled in those conditions, but he certainly won't let that enter his mind. He'll be going in with confidence and He'll be backing his ability, and he's shown that in the past. So he'll be drawing on all those experiences where he's performed very well, and even in white ball cricket, he'll be looking at all those performances and drawing on those to go in with a lot of confidence, which they all will. I guess it's a very memorable time in their career. For both teams, they're playing a final for the inaugural World Test Championship, so they'll be going in with 100% belief in themselves that they're going to win the match, which they have to.
Right. So if we have to speak about the probable 11, right, of both the teams. So according to you, first let's talk about New Zealand, right? So how would you see your 11 of New Zealand?
How well? Sorry, do I?
I'm saying, how would you see your 11 of New Zealand lineup?
Yeah, look, I think the only difference is, I think the top six will be Conway, Latham, Williamson, Taylor, Nichols, Watling, and then I guess the number 7 position is an interesting one. I think they'll go with Jamieson to allow themselves to play Ajaz Patel slot in 8 or 9. You got Wagner, Bolt, and Southey. So I feel that's a very probable 11 that they'll go for. The only other option is potentially playing De Gronholm to have a little bit more with the bat. Like he's bowled very well. He's a very good containing bowler, and he's good in swinging conditions. And he just offers a little bit more with the bat. But who he comes in for, I guess that's $1 million question. I don't think he can come in for any of the pace bowlers. So probably only going to have to be for Ajaz Patel, but I just feel that's a bit of a risk not going in the match with a spinner. So yeah, I've got a bit of clarity around what I think the New Zealand team will be, but I'm a bit unsure about the Indian team. I guess I'm unsure whether they're going to go in with 4 seamers and 1 spinner, or 3 seamers and 2 spinners. I would go
talking point.
3 seamers. Yeah, look, I think I would go in with 2 spinners in Ashwin and Jadeja, and purely on the basis that I think they're both world-class players, and they've also got the ability to win games of cricket, and they've done that for India. Look, if Jadeja has his day with bat or ball, he could be unbelievable. He could go and smash 100 in a session and change the game just like that. And Ashwin's record is unbelievable in terms of with the ball. So, but that would be at the expense of a seamer, which is a tough one. Yeah.
So, will you go for Ishant Shami and Bumrah, or do you see a Mohammad Siraj or a Shardul Thakur making the place with Ishant Sharma? Because Ishant is coming back from an injury, right? He played the IPL, he again got injured, so he doesn't have too much match practice behind him. So, would you risk him for a crucial final like this, or would you just keep him for the England tour and play?
Yeah, I reckon if he's fully fit, then I'd play him, because he's got that experience too. But I guess they'll be looking at that now. If they don't feel he can get through 5 days of cricket, then it's too big a risk playing him, because if he breaks down and they've only got 3 seamers, then they're in deep trouble. So if there's an element of risk there, they won't play him. And look, there could be a bit of risk because of the reasons you said. He's broken down a couple of times on his last few comebacks. So do you want to take that risk in a final, or do you want to give a guy a go who had a great time in Australia and is performing well and fit? It's a tough one for them to ponder that.
Yeah. So, finally, talking about the predictions, like the last time when New Zealand, tied the World Cup, I would personally say New Zealand had won the World Cup, but let's say they tied it. So, talking about the mental toughness of the players to come back, to again go to that ground against the same opposition, although the format was different, to show the kind of mental toughness without 6 of your main players. So do you think that has already given New Zealand the advantage to win the World Cup, World Test Championship final, or will the fact that they have only 3 days of rest give India a better chance because they are fresher?
Yeah, and that's great way of summing it up, really, because the New Zealanders will go in with confidence, that's for sure. They've won a Test series in England, and the last time they did that was 20 odd years ago. So they'll go in with a lot of confidence. Whether they're still going to be tired, or they potentially there could be some overconfidence. Time will tell with that. And I guess to contradict that a little bit, then you look at the Indian team and they're coming off no cricket, but that could be a blessing in disguise because they're coming into the game, they're so fresh, they've got so much energy, and you can look at it both ways. So there's pros and cons to both sides, and I guess the team that wins the game will probably be determined by the team that adjusts to both of the differing circumstances. But look, I think they'll both go in with a huge amount of confidence. They're both the two best teams in the world, and they both deserve their spot there. So they'll both go in with confidence, and it will just come down to the team that can adapt the best throughout the 5 days of cricket and throughout, I guess, session by session. And it's going to be so intriguing to watch, isn't it?
Yeah. So you are sitting on the fence with this, right? Or are you going for a winner?
Oh, I'm definitely going for New Zealand just because I have to, because I'm biased, and I'm sure you're probably going for India as well. But
Yeah.
look, I'm going for New Zealand, but I expect it to be a real battle, a real good battle of attrition. You know, two very good teams, two very well balanced teams. I think both batting lineups are very similar, and they cancel each other out a little bit. I think New Zealand's probably got an edge with the pace bowling.
Right.
I think India's got an edge with the spin bowling. So put all those things together, and it's going to be a great match. But I'm putting my faith in the New Zealand team to get the job done and finally win a world championship.
Yeah, you summed it up pretty well. That the spin department is a bit with India, and the pace department is with New Zealand. But yeah, we all expect a good match, and although the weather forecast is not quite encouraging for us Indians, New Zealanders might be licking their lips. But yeah, so thanks a lot for your time, Glenn. It was a pleasure talking to you, and the way you just summed it up brilliantly, and we do hope that Conway gets the runs, but the result goes in India's favor.
Yeah. No, thank you for the time, and yeah, as I said, all the best to you and all the Indian fans out there, and looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you.
Thank you.